Xenoverse 2 is something that a lot of people question, will it ever stop getting new content? Will it ever stop getting DLC? Not that getting new content is a bad thing. With every new DLC pack we get, the huge roster of the game just keeps on growing and growing with more variety, especially when it comes to this new pack. While we don't get a huge number of characters, we do get a certain character that doesn't come from any of the anime series or manga. Starring a hero from GT and a certain female android from Dragon Ball FighterZ, here is my review of Ultra Pack 2 for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. As always, Xenoverse 2's newest DLC comes at the same time as a free update that also gives us new content. So let's compare. The update gives us additional features to the Crystal Raid mode, more Hero Coliseum figures, and an upgraded photo mode letting you go online and take photos with other players instead of just the CPU. This is all pretty cool and nothing major here unless you're one of those people who love posting those special cinematic photos over on Reddit. What we get in the DLC pack are 2 playable characters, Android 21 from Dragon Ball FighterZ and Majinbu or Maju from Dragon Ball GT. And we've got the typical 5 new parallel quest missions that give you several skills and costume accessories from Android 21 and Maju's skill set to a few other unique ones. The real emphasis being put on getting Android 21's costume. That's a pretty important thing that I'll get into a little bit later. As far as the characters go, we got one less than we got in the last DLC pack, but the good thing is these are 2 entirely new characters. No version of Oob is in the game, and Android 21 is completely new to Xenoverse 2. As opposed to last time around where we got 2 variants of Vegeta that were basically just palette swaps outside of Blue Evolution's aura. Despite getting 2 characters though, let's be real, the star of this show is Android 21. The female android scientist from FighterZ is the biggest part of the DLC that got it hyped up, and that's for multiple reasons. She's a very popular unique character, and we get the form of her that's not playable in her own game. And that brings with it a difference in fighting as her in Xenoverse 2 versus fighting as her in FighterZ. In her original game, her Majin form is the only way you can play it even in her own story campaign. She was a very acrobatic character in that game, and her tail was one of the central factors to her entire moveset. Because her tail is no longer here in Xenoverse 2, she's still acrobatic but in a very different way. 21 is a melee-focused character, wanting you to go in and do a lot of really long melee combos filled with twirls, jumps, and kicks that you can pull off even without knowing different button combinations. This melee focus is brought in even further with the fact that her moveset doesn't include a charging skill like pretty much every other character in the game has. There's no way to charge up her energy outside of doing combos and getting hit by opponents. Once you get into her skills, however, there's a lot of unique stuff that was brought in straight from FighterZ. The only skill I really recognized being in Xenoverse 2 already was the Majin Kamehameha, and even that is really unique with how she looks because that's a strictly Majin moveset, so seeing a human charge it up and use it is a pretty neat little thing. The other skills she has are pretty much all new, and a bunch of them are taken straight from her FighterZ moveset. If you go back and actually look at how she fights in FighterZ with some of those energy ball skills, you can see the same things being used in both games. While you won't get any skills that have the fetishy side of Android 21 that we saw a lot of in FighterZ, she just feels and looks like a very unique fighter that brings a lot of new things to Xenoverse 2, all the way down to her unique charged ki blast. Though Xenoverse 2 doesn't get all the credit for bringing this more unique form to another game. Her human form could also be recruited and used on your team in Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission. And before moving on to the other character, let's talk about Android 21's costume finally being obtainable in the game worldwide. About a year or 2 ago, there was a special promotion for Xenoverse 2 that allowed players to get Android 21's costume, but only if you were in Japan. The West was never a part of this promotion, so the costume being included in this DLC and the raid battles going on right now is a really important thing for those who remember that event. Now let's dive into our other character, Majub, the fusion of Majinbu and Oob from Dragon Ball GT. Xenoverse 2 didn't have a playable form of Oob before, so this is a nice addition. He's got a bit of a unique playstyle with his slower combos. The only downside is his lack of unique skills. While Android 21 has almost all new skills, Majub has almost all old skills like the Kamehameha and even the Super Kamehameha. It's not the fact that he has no unique skills, it's that he's a brand new character but most of his moveset is recycled from stuff already in the game. It's great to have him for that Dragon Ball GT aspect, it just feels like Android 21 outshines him in almost every way. In conclusion, DLC 10 or Ultra Pack 2 only gives us 2 new characters, but they come with a lot of quality and uniqueness. While Majinbu doesn't have a lot of unique skills to him, Android 21's inclusion brings a lot of uniqueness to the game as well as a costume that people have been sad about not getting in the West for well over a year. Reviews to Go rates DLC 10 for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 an 8.5 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thanks for watching and have a great day.